International relations is all about managing the relationship with other countries, leveraging your position, giving something, and in return getting something. At the same time, the countries also form certain alliances. They will have certain countries with whom they will have animosity, or these countries will have animosity towards them. At the same time, there will be certain partners, trade partners, economic partners, and at times strategic partners or even military alliances. Now, what had happened is India and Russia have been all-weather friend, of course, but Russia has had complaints wherein it says that India is leaning towards United States of America. At the same time, we have been all-weather friends with Russia, but we also have had apprehensions with respect to Russia's inclination towards China. And after the signing of the trade deal of India and United States of America, which also says that India should reduce buying the crude oil from Russia, not just that, previously itself there has been secondary sanctions on Russia, because of which India was asked not to buy. We still continued doing so, but in the trade deal, India has sort of said that yes, we will reduce buying of crude oil from Russia. So what is happening here? India probably moved towards USA and away from Russia. And now what is happening is Russia is probably moving closer and closer to China. So in this lecture, we will discuss about Russia's growing dependence. Growing dependence, of course, every country is dependent on every other country. No country is basically completely independent. So what Russia's growing dependence on China is going to mean for India and India's security is what we are going to understand. We'll also see the historical relationship between Russia and China. What are the relations? How have been the relations? How are the relations now? And how close is Russia going to China? Will they lead to a formation of military alliance or not? And what all this means for India, and what can India do in such situations? So let's get started with the news. So all this is in news because of the visit of Russian President Vladimir Putin to China. Right, now this is coming shortly after the US president had visited Beijing. So what had happened? Trump visited Beijing, after which now Putin is visiting China. So that comes at a crucial time also. Imagine a situation that three friends or three colleagues are there. One colleague talks to, let's say, one person talks to your friend. Then you also go and talk to your friend in order to understand what has happened. What did the other person say, and is everything all right between us? Can we become more strategic partner, more than how much inclination you might have with respect to any other country? So that is the perspective over here. So it comes at a crucial time. Now, what is Russia seeking from China? See, China is a bigger economy, of course. Russia here seeks economic support and strategic relevance. Why? Because there is Western isolation that is there. USA has imposed sanctions on Russia. What kinds of sanctions? Primary sanctions and secondary sanctions. What is a primary sanction? In a primary sanction, USA has said that it will not trade with Russia. That's the primary sanction. In secondary sanction, what happens is you may not trade with the country. Also, you don't want any other country to trade with that country, and if they do, you may impose penalties and punishment to those countries as well. So on Russia, USA has imposed secondary sanctions as well. That is why Russia is seeking China's support. Now, what USA seeks? See, USA seeks stabilization of strained ties with China. So Trump came in order to repair the ties, improve the ties which have already been strained between US and China. So more important here is the relationship of Russia and China. So let us look at the evolution of the relationship. So if you look at from the imperial period or during the imperial period, the relationship has been majorly stable. However, there has been, let's say, at times, there have been hiccups as in due to the border dispute between Russia and China. There can be certain issues, but they were far apart, and over a longer period of time the relationship is considered to be a stable one. Plus, they had also had certain treaties, the Treaty of Friendship, which was signed between Communist China and the USSR, the then USSR, who signed the Treaty of Friendship with each other. Going ahead, after the Treaty of Friendship, however, tensions did emerge between Russia and China. See, understand that Russia is, or you can say at that time, USSR was a communist regime. Many communists may not agree with that because it failed, so they may not want to agree that it was communist, because then it would mean that communism has failed. So their perspective is that no, it was not communist, but it is sort of universally accepted that that was a communist regime. So Russia was communist, at the same time China was communist, right? In the present day they may not be, but at that time more inclination, at least we can say, was towards communism. But still they were anti each other. One big reason for that is China's communism was based on the labors, and that too of agricultural laborers. Their labor force was concentrated in agriculture sector, whereas USSR's was concentrated in the industrial sectors. So different requirements, different economy, and different approaches. But many other things have happened, as a result of which their relationship was marred with tensions, right? Especially because of the policies under Stalin and Nikita Khrushchev during the Cold War period when it was ongoing, just around, before that, in fact. Okay. Then you have the Sino-Soviet split, the split in the friendship that is going to take place, and the armed clashes that occurred in 1969. So you can see that there has been armed clashes as well between the two nations, but still they are still closer to each other than each one of them are to USA, for example. They in fact are opposite to USA. Now, very interestingly, economically, huge amount of USA money is invested in India, in China. China's money is invested in USA, but ideology-wise, philosophy-wise, approach-wise, right, strategy-wise, or let's say diplomacy-wise, they are completely opposite. Now, let's look at the USA, China, Russia triangle and its impact on India. Now, USA, because there was Sino-Soviet tension, USA exploited that. USA always has a habit to exploit the things. It exploited situations in World War I, in World War II, selling the arms, ammunition, etc., and earning profits. Right here also it did exactly that. And Henry Kissinger came up with the ping pong diplomacy to basically move towards China. What is this ping pong diplomacy? Basically, transfer or exchange of the table tennis player from China to USA and USA to China. Table tennis is also known as ping pong, basically, in slang you can say, or in China specifically. So that is the ping pong policy. Then you have the emerging strategic axis. So what is the emerging axis? Washington, Beijing and Islamabad. That means USA, China and Pakistan more inclined towards each other, leaves India out and leaves Russia also out. Then you have Russia-China strategic partnership today, how it is. So there has been deepening cooperation 1992 onwards. Then they had signed a no limits partnership in 2022. What is this no limit partnership? No limit of our friendship and integration is what is meant by this no limit partnership. Then there is of course economic interdependence, especially by Russia on China. The dependence is there because sanctions are imposed by USA on Russia, right? Now the question is, are Russia and China heading towards military alliance or not? Military alliance means exchange and cooperation in the defense military as well, whether doing exercises, attack on one being treated as the attack on the other, all those things, are they heading towards that? So see, what are the reasons that can help make us think that way? They both are of the view that USA is a structural rival, right? Strategic coordination is increasing rapidly between the two nations. However, experts say that the formal military alliance is unlikely. Why? Because of the fear of entrapment, right? Because of this, what will happen is Russia specifically will feel entrapped, because China has a lot of issues going on with USA, issue with respect to Taiwan. So if they come up in military alliance, then Russia would have to get involved from the side of China, which it would not want. So that is the concept of entrapment. And then there is fear of abandonment. Russia basically does not want involvement in US-China tension with respect to Taiwan. Right, now, what is the implication on India? So India's traditional balancing strategy. So India has tried to balance, of course, the different countries in international relations, right? Now you have the security partnership with USA, we have strong defense ties with Russia, we have Russia is also our all-weather friend. Present emerging problem is what? Russia moving closer to China and Russia claiming that India is moving closer to USA. Okay? So implications would be what? Security implication. This will basically shrink our strategic space, right? That means if now we want to deal with Russia, China will also be involved. If China and Russia get into a strategic alliance, military alliance, then potential China, Pakistan, Russia convergence risk can happen, because Russia would may align with China and China is already aligned with Pakistan. So along with China, Pakistan, there can be a third country, that is Russia. That will be a very not a good thing for India as such. So what is the way forward? Way forward is to diversify our strategic partnership, strengthen our indigenous defense capabilities, so our dependence on Russia also is not much. Of course, we have been all-weather friends and helped each other out, but still it is better to become Atmanirbhar, that is independent. That is the way forward for India. Thank you.